Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of the show, Trek Wednesday. We are going to do an unusual format here. We're starting with the build edition first, and then we're going to go over to our fleet in review and the usual messages of the day. I am your chief. You know what? Let's not even bother with that. I'm just the guy who just says a whole bunch of stuff and introduce these guys over here. Our chief intelligence officer, Captain Sarcasm Detector.
Greetings.
And our Chief Logistics Officer, Captain Timberwolf. Give us a howl, good sir.
Ow!
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so what we're going to do here to warm the whole place up a little bit is with the builds. Why don't we get the screen sharing service going on here? And we're going to start with our first build, which was submitted to us on our previous builds. But, and I say this with a big caveat, but we have a little bit of a conundrum here because we see this on a Galax, but it doesn't match the description or the notes.
Yeah.
So I say to you, good sir, and I'll leave a message again under the comment section for your account, that the notes and the description does not match the ship or the build. So if you could, please redo the Dandy Dreadnought and either A, change the description to see to have it match with whatever you want, or B, change your build, and we will get back to you with this as quickly as we can. So whenever you are done with this and you have it set up, post again. We'll be more than happy to go and look over your build, critique it, give some tips if necessary, or if not, we'll fly with you and see what you can do with it. So go ahead, repost the Dandy Dreadnought if this is the ship that you want. If it's not, and it's the science ship, the science torpedo ship, please repost it. Whichever it is, we'd love to help you out, or we'd love to feature it on the show. Thank you. Moving on to the second ship here. We have this Fleet Long Range Science Vessel. Now, this looks to be a torp boat or a pseudo-torp boat with some energy weapons on it. And I see this Dyson deflector and then the secondary inhibiting deflector. Gentlemen, what do you guys have as far as an initial assessment on this?
I'm just looking over it right now.
No problem. I see he's got the neutronic in the back, so he's got the three-piece Delta Ordnance, three-piece Protonic Arsenal, which is good on both of those sets there.
That gives you both of those give a boost to photon torpedoes, if I'm correct.
Yes.
The Delta Ordnance will give you, the two-piece is a cooldown for neutronic and a radiation boost. And
Right.
then, which will probably play off of the secondary deflector if I remember it correctly. And then the three-piece will actually give you isokinetic cannon, which if he is stacking part gens, which is what he's doing, that thing's going to hit hard,
Okay.
especially with a constriction anchor. So even at a minute cooldown, that's a huge nuke.
It is. Yeah, I'm always iffy about the experimental proton weapon. He's got it in the back, so that thing is rarely going to fire at all. It's only got a 180-degree firing arc, so it's very limited. And for most ships, even if you're doing a broadside build, your front-facing weapons are going to fire more often than your rear weapons.
Well, for a torp boat, you would expect to have whichever side you're going to be leading with to have your strongest facing weapons. Like if you're teasing your target first and then flying back, retreating from your target, then you want to have your heaviest hitting weapons there in the back. But it depends on playstyle. I've seen some people use it. They make it work, where they would come in, weaken the target with their 4, and then 180, so that as they're retreating from the target, they are sending out the strongest attacks to hit it. So I can see that working with this. My only concern is that with the VOD War, well, the only concerns with the way the weapons are laid out like this is that with the VOD War Polaron rays, all of VOD War Polaron energy weapons, I should say, their shield weakening ability isn't working as advertised. The 10% isn't really a truly a 10%. When you deal with shield resists, it actually comes out to be about 4 or 5%, which for me personally, when I've tried testing this out, it didn't seem as strong as it should have been in my mind. If this is supposed to proc and then weaken the shield significantly for my torpedoes to do damage,
it's not doing it. It's not doing it, yeah.
So I would say flip this. Get some turrets in the back if you're normally pointing your nose forward, and then work with that. But if you're focusing on looks, he has OSS here and fall, so he's probably going to use a lot of energy weapons with this case.
Is it me, or is all his science, or most of his science slots empty?
Those are for the other animations for, like, there we go.
So I don't see them on my build. They're actually blank.
Oh, they are blank. Typically, they would be something. I don't know, I'm just clicking here and it's just showing up. I'm wondering if it's just... Yep, it's blank. It's just filling in whatever I just click on there. So it's blank. So if this was something else that's supposed to be here, just fill it in as you see fit. Typically with a lot of science builds, especially with Pathfinders, you want to have at least a strong Gravwell. With part gens, you're not going to do a lot of grab everything from all over the universe and suck it in, but you are going to do a lot of damage with your Gravwell and with your tractor beam. Let's see here. It's got constriction anchor, part gens all over the place. This console here, the Nukara particle converter, if I remember correctly, that's supposed to be like a bonus accuracy to energy weapons.
Bonus accuracy, a little bit of power, I believe.
Okay.
I think 5 shield power, and I do believe it has party gens on it.
It does have part gens on it.
Okay, so I can see where he's going with the part gens on that one. If there is enough radiation damage coming from it, how much part gens is coming from that console? If anybody's in game, a chance.
Yeah, I am in game. Give me a second to pull it up.
Okay. Because my idea would be to swap this for the counter command console if, and only if, there's enough radiation damage coming from both the neutronic and the secondary deflector.
Okay, I don't have it upgraded yet, but the unupgraded version is 17.3 particle generators. So, and it's a very rare, so ultra rare, and epic, Mark 13, Mark 14, maybe it'll go up to 25 points.
Gotcha. So let's see here. Transfer shield strength. That should work fine with that. I accidentally stumbled upon this, but this should work out, right? Or should we just do a double Gravwell on this one?
He's running reciprocity. Let's take a quick look at his traits. He's running reciprocity. And Utter Synergy, that's good. Battle Ready, that's good. Ablative Field Projector, that's okay. He's got the Particle Manipulator, okay. Kinetic Precision, Photonic Capacitor, alright. Positive Feedback Loop. Conservation of Energy, alright. Huh, okay. So he is running reciprocity, so in that case, he should be running an attack pattern in there somewhere. Either that, or he doesn't need to double up on the torp spread.
Yeah.
So either put in a attack pattern, or put in a high yield.
Or, based off of this, because he's running limited torps and doesn't have the enhanced biomolecular, if or when you can afford it, I would actually go with Chemocyte 2 for the torp spread in place of one of the torp spreads. Because then you would have other sources of radiation that would work with Chemocyte. You can then change this out for the counter command multi-conduit, which will then boost the gravimetric torpedo damage. While it doesn't directly affect the neutronic kinetic damage, it does boost the neutronic radiation damage, which is an awesome shield stripper for any of the torpedoes. And that'll also work with boost the Chemocyte radiation damage, because fall, spread, even with the bug right now with the double proc of Chemocyte on torpedoes whenever you spread, that's 2 applications of radiation damage that, right now, okay, they're not fixing it yet. Take advantage of it. Hopefully they'll fix it, but until then, take advantage of it. And then you have your radiation from the deflector procking as well. So that's multiple sources of radiation gain that you have there. One other thing I do have to note, though, if your primary damage or some part of your considerable amount of damage is coming from torpedoes, you'll get much more mileage from Omega kinetic shearing than you would from enhanced armor penetration.
That's true.
40% of whatever damage makes it to hull. Now, if you're doing a lot of the Borgs, there are objects that have no shields, and there are objects that don't have a lot of shields. So when you get through them, 40% of 100K or 40% of, let me see, at this part here, nothing boosting that, neutronic hitting it hard or gravimetric hitting it hard, you're probably looking at probably around 50, 55K per torpedo hitting it. So, and then you do 40% of that damage on top of each impact. You're just throwing that away by not having it. So I would replace, if your crit's low or your crit damage is low, which running particle manipulator, I don't see that being a problem.
Actually, yeah. You know what? You should take out the crit chance trait, which is precision, and replace it with enhanced rending shots, because his crit chance is super low. Enhanced rending shots, it's every time you're firing energy weapons, you get a stacking crit chance bonus.
Right.
And that stacks until you actually get a crit chance, and that really only works if you have a really low crit chance to begin with.
Now, how low are we talking is low?
Low, below 15%, 10% or lower, which, looking at this build, he's probably below 10%.
Okay. All right, so we'll put that in there. Now, I would change out this and keep your crit D, and I would change this out for Omega kinetic shearing, which will then leave us with the choices of space reputation. We know active reputations, we're good with that, which will then leave us with what to do as far as this lineup. Now,
I got the suggestion right away.
Go for it.
Remove the experimental proton weapon and replace it with the enhanced biomolecular torpedo from the Undyne set, and possibly scroll down a little bit, please. Okay, so the Nakura console, get rid of that, replace it with one of the consoles from the set for the Undyne set. So the hydrodynamic or the forget what it's called right now.
Counter command.
Yeah, it's a tactical console, so it is called. I can dig it up real quick. Counter Command Multi-Conduit Energy Relay, which will give you right away. That gives you radiation damage and photon damage right there. So you're boosting both the gravimetric torpedo and your radiation damage from the neutronic torpedo right away. And then there's the hydrodynamic, if I can dig it up here. There it is. It's just engine power, aux power, targeting system, flight turn rate, whatever. But you probably want it for the two-piece.
What would you replace with the hydrodynamic compensator?
Give me a second. I'm just looking at the info of the hydrodynamic.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? No, go without the hydrodynamic. You don't need it. You just need the counter command. The counter command piece is just fine. It'll give you the photon torpedo damage and the radiation damage. And since you're running, if he's not running with the kinetic cutting beam, he really doesn't need the assimilated module. You can probably replace it with something else there.
What about the engineering RCS with the PartGen console on there?
That would work.
Now that, though, may cost a lot of money unless he gets lucky in crafting.
No, well, we're just giving him the suggestions.
Right. Just letting you know up front, that could cost a lot. But that would be available to you.
And that'll actually make it, just the RCS console by itself is going to increase his DPS because it's going to make it easier for him to turn and to point those torpedoes out.
Mm-hmm.
I would put the biomolecular torpedo on the front.
Funny, I would, with a spread like this, Here's the kicker. Because the biomolecular and the gravimetric will do identical damage versus non-Undine targets. And since he has a neutronic already, I would probably, unless he's doing a forward attack to weaken and rear attack to do his heavy damage while he's retreating, but then that kind of exposes his flank up to the target as well. Not usually a great idea. But still, I've seen people do this beforehand, and it works for them. So if this is your playstyle, great. But not knowing your playstyle, I would move the experimental proton weapon 4.
I would remove it completely.
Well, your option is also valid as well. Having 2 torps 4, have an energy weapon up 4, and then have 1 torp in the back, and then 2 other energy weapons in the back. So pretty much invert what we have here, except move a torpedo around to replace it.
You can take out the experimental proton weapon and put the torp in the back in its place instead. That works perfectly fine as well. Just get rid of the proton weapon completely. It's not helping him out. It's actually hindering him, like that. Yeah.
I would see what he was going, though, with the 3-piece, because he would get an extra 10% crit hit to photon torpedo damage, and then a universal 10% crit, plus 10 crit D. Yeah, 10% crit D. So I saw where he was going with the 3-piece with that. What I would have done was move, let me see here, move the experimental proton to the middle, have 2 torps 4, and since you have 4 already, keep the advanced Thorin and Fuge in the back, and then have 2 Omni beams in the back here as well, and then run with that. That way you have maximizing the most amount of contact time with your energy weapons. Still keeping leech up if you want to use leech.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're turning around, whether it's to retreat or to do something else, or broadside, or positioning yourself for another assault, you will have your thorium-infused weapon making contact to your target.
Yeah, no, the three-piece for the protonic set is just a 10% critical chance with the photon projectile.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's kind of
It's
half and
kind of
half on
iffy.
that.
It's kind
And
of iffy.
10% critical severity, you're not going to notice that. That's a very small. So the amount that you're losing running the experimental proton weapon is greater than the bonuses that you're getting from running the three-piece set.
Mm-hmm. And so you throw the biomolecular over here, run spread with them, with the neutronic, keep the gravimetric fore aft, and go to
Yeah,
town.
you want the gravimetric up front, because as you're approaching the target, you hit your gravity well, you hit your spread with the gravimetric, and you have 15 seconds to turn around and then do whatever it is from the back end, or whatever the situation calls for.
True. There's multiple ways you can go with this. So there's no wrong way with it. The only right way would be based off of how you are flying your ship and what you're doing with it. Just looking at the skills real quick. We're going to put a link in the description here that'll direct us back to what we did with the skills as far as building a science ship. We actually did one like this beforehand. And we're going to discuss the success story right after this here. But I would say, if you're checking this out, take a look at the link in the description. It'll bring you over to the detailed explanation that Snipey and I went through as far as speccing all this fun stuff out. I'd say for the most part, pretty much good, except for up here in the tack systems. Could use some minor tweaking here and there. Yeah, because this isn't maximized out. Starship maneuvers. If you're not doing attack patterns, and unless he's using a lot of energy weapons, I don't know. What do you think? Maximizing maneuvers out will probably be more beneficial for him than sticking that much more in energy weapons.
Give him a little bit extra defense.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in a ship that does not have that much as far as a way of defensive capabilities. You want to squeeze out as much defense as possible with this.
I think we might have to revisit this.
We can.
I'm just looking at the time.
Yeah, well, like I said, we will be posting a link down below with the full detailed workout of how to do this. I'm sure Sarcasm Detector will have his own suggestions specifically tailored to you, where we can go through line by line for each one of them. But most of all, we would like to see how you fly and what you intend on doing with this, so we could better advise you as far as what you can do with your skill tree spec. And let me see. Aside from this, gentlemen, do you have anything else you want to say about this?
No, I'm good.
All right. We're going to move on real quick to someone who's actually paid attention to our first build show and did this job here. And he posted 50K on his numbers here, where he did fall in Chemosite, threw this one down, and I don't know, it's odd. These are not showing up again for the same ship. I know he did fill these out, though. I know he did fill those out. He went with the two-piece adapted Mako for the Cat 1 torpedo damage boost, Solnay deflector, an inhibiting deflector, he went all out on this one here. He used PEP, which is great whenever you're using a high part gen build, which is something we didn't even mention over here. So shame on me for not even saying that. You could use a particle emission plasma torpedo, and that would slow your targets down tremendously. And you can use that to replace the enhanced biomolecular. But he loaded him. He just went to town and loaded up. Now, if he's doing a lot of radiation damage, the only thing I would say is replace one of these with the counter command multi-conduit, and then he can do whatever he wants with the third one here. But he's already doing 50K with this thing. That is a phenomenal achievement already. He's probably going to push higher numbers soon anyway between Psi and Torps. So congratulations to you. Let the curiosity keep flying, and I would love to fly with you again. Do we have any other comments on this build?
Oh, that was a pretty interesting build, I find.
Well, he did good with it. Can't argue with it.
Yeah, 50K, there's not really that much more you can do.
Yeah. Mega kinetic sharing, auxiliary power, Nukara offensive, crit D, crit H, reciprocity, advanced pedal to the metal, emitter synergy, all hands on deck. So he's got cooldown city going on here. Anchored. That's if you were in a group where they could take a lot of flack off of you for whatever reason, Anchored will work fine for you right before you do a lot of your big attacks. So that right there is a good trait to use if you find yourself in situations where you can park and shoot for a moment and then scoot and move again. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to wrap up the builds real quick. Any parting thoughts?
Not off the top of my head.
All right. And Timberwolf is over there trying to solve world peace, so we'll bring him in with one of these special Palisade builds one of these days here. And we actually have a guest that's going to join us on the next show, build series, who's going to debut his, get this, torpedo tank build. I was like, what? Okay, go with your bad self. But,
okay, if they can... I have a hard time with that, but if they can pull it off, then yeah, all the power to them.
More power to them. All right, so for our Chief Intelligence Officer, our Chief Logistics Officer, this is the Chief... Yeah, forget it. You know what? I wanted to say Chief Strategic Officer, but I don't care because it's quite funny to go...
Chief something or other officer.
The chief of getting blown out of the sky, yet whenever I'm left alone, I blow the hell out of you. Right? You get blown up. Goodbye. All right, this is Odin Knight. See ya.